The crisp autumn air carried a soft chill as golden leaves swirled along the bustling paths of the city park. Children laughed as they chased each other across the playground, their sneakers crunching against the fallen leaves. Joggers passed by in rhythmic strides, headphones blaring music that only they could hear. Emma, a young woman in her mid-20s, walked briskly, her bag slung over one shoulder, her mind lost in a whirlwind of thoughts. She was late for her evening class and juggling 100 worries at once: rent, groceries, and the constant anxiety about her younger brother's health. As she walked past the fountain, her bag slipped from her shoulder and spilled across the path. Books and papers fluttered to the ground like a small storm of white and brown pages. Emma gasped, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment, and bent down to gather her things. Her hands trembled slightly as she hurriedly tried to collect everything before anyone noticed. "Here, let me help you with that," a calm voice said, startling her. Emma looked up and saw a young man, slightly taller than her, with warm brown eyes and a gentle smile. He knelt down, picking up her scattered books and neatly stacking them. His movements were careful, almost deliberate, as though he understood the chaos of the moment and wanted to bring order to it. "Thank you," Emma said, her voice soft, a little shy. "I'm such a mess." "You're not a mess," he replied kindly, handing her the last book. "Just distracted. Happens to all of us." There was something in his tone reassuring, sincere, that made Emma relax, the tight knot of tension in her chest loosening just a little. She studied him for a moment, his hair slightly tousled by the wind, a faint dimple appearing when he smiled. In that brief exchange, something passed between them, an unspoken recognition, a tiny spark that neither could explain. Emma finally secured her bag and took a deep breath. I guess I should be going," she said, but neither moved immediately. The world around them seemed to pause, the fountain gurgling softly, leaves swirling lazily, a light breeze brushing past. Michael, sensing her hesitation, smiled again. "Maybe I'll see you around," he said. Emma nodded, feeling an unexpected warmth spread through her chest. As she walked away, her thoughts lingered on the stranger who had stepped into her chaotic afternoon, unaware that this small act of kindness was the beginning of something far greater. The leaves of autumn had begun to fade into the first hints of winter, and the park where Emma and Michael had met was quieter now, the bustle of the city softened by the early evening chill. Their paths crossed again, this time by chance. Or perhaps fate, at a small local café tucked on a side street, its warm lights spilling onto the sidewalk. Emma was seated by the window, sipping a steaming cup of tea, her notebook open but largely ignored. Michael appeared in the doorway, scanning the room until his eyes landed on her. A smile spread across his face, and he approached, carrying a simple, polite confidence that immediately put her at ease. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. Emma's cheeks tinged pink. "Not at all," she replied, moving her bag to make room. They talked for hours, the outside world fading into a blur. At first, their conversation was light: favorite books, movies, and silly stories about awkward encounters. But gradually, their words grew deeper, peeling back layers of their lives they rarely shared with anyone else. Emma spoke of her younger brother, Daniel, who had been diagnosed with a chronic illness, and the constant worry that shadowed her days. Michael listened, truly listened, without interruption or judgment. His empathy was tangible, his expression sincere, making Emma feel heard in a way she hadn't in years. As the evening wore on, the cafe emptied around them, leaving only the soft hum of the heater and the quiet clinking of dishes from the staff cleaning up. Emma found herself laughing at Michael's dry sense of humor, a sound that felt foreign yet liberating after weeks of stress and worry. Michael, in turn, shared his own struggles, revealing a vulnerability that balanced their conversation: a life of small victories and quiet disappointments, dreams he chased quietly but passionately. When they finally stepped outside, the cold air was sharp against their faces, yet they didn't rush to part ways. They walked together slowly, letting the city sounds, honking cars, distant laughter, the rustle of leaves wrap around their growing connection. Each step deepened the bond that had begun with a simple act of kindness. There was an unspoken understanding between them now, a promise that neither needed to voice, that they had found in each other something rare, something meaningful. By the time they reached the corner where they would part, the streetlights flickered on, casting golden halos around them. Michael smiled softly. "I'd like to see you again," he said. Emma nodded, a warmth spreading through her chest. I'd like that too. And in that moment, amid the quiet city streets, their friendship had blossomed into something neither of them could yet name, but both would feel for a long time to come. The rain tapped softly against the windowpane of Michael's modest apartment, creating a quiet rhythm that matched the turmoil in his mind. Outside, the city streets glistened under the reflection of streetlights, people hurrying home with umbrellas, oblivious to the inner conflicts of a single man sitting alone. Michael stared at the small pile of bills and medical reports spread across his kitchen table, a frown knitting his brow. He had learned the truth about Emma's struggles, her brother Daniel's worsening condition, and the financial strain it placed on her. Every detail she had tried to keep hidden gnawed at him. He thought back to the countless hours spent with Emma, her laughter, and her quiet moments of vulnerability, the way she cared so selflessly for her brother despite the exhaustion she carried. Michael realized he couldn't stand by and do nothing. But there was a catch: his own finances were tight, leaving barely enough for his rent and daily living. Helping Emma would mean personal sacrifice, and the thought of it made his chest tighten. After hours of pacing and deliberation, Michael made a decision. He would help Emma, but anonymously. She had pride and dignity. She couldn't accept charity directly from someone she had grown to care for so deeply. He set up an anonymous donation to cover the cost of Daniel's treatment, ensuring the payments were enough to relieve the immediate burden. Every keystroke and transaction felt heavy with meaning, a small act, yet it carried the weight of his heart. The next day, Michael watched from a distance as Emma received the news. Her eyes filled with tears as she read the confirmation of the medical assistance, but she had no idea it was Michael who had made it possible. Michael felt a mix of relief and pain, relief that he could ease her suffering, and pain because she remained unaware of the one who had quietly sacrificed for her. That night, Michael sat alone in his apartment, rain drumming steadily against the glass. He reflected on the nature of love, how it sometimes required selflessness, patience, and the courage to remain unseen. He knew that true kindness didn't always come with recognition, but he also understood that his feelings for Emma were growing stronger with each passing day. Though he remained in the shadows, he promised himself one thing: he would always protect and care for her, even if it meant remaining invisible. In that quiet moment, Michael understood the first real cost of love. It was not easy, it was not glamorous, but it was necessary. The hospital room was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitors and the occasional shuffle of nurses' feet. Sunlight filtered gently through the half-drawn blinds, casting warm stripes across the walls. Emma sat in the chair beside her brother Daniel's bed, holding his hand as he slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. The tension that had shadowed her every moment had lifted slightly, replaced by a fragile hope she hadn't dared feel before. Her phone buzzed on the bedside table. It was a message from the hospital's billing office confirming that Daniel's medical expenses had been fully covered. Emma's hands trembled as she read the words again and again. Relief flooded her, but it was quickly mixed with confusion. She had no idea who had helped them, no note, no name, only an anonymous message of support. As she sat there, processing the miracle, Michael quietly entered the room. Emma looked up in surprise, startled to see him standing at the doorway. "Michael! What are you? How did you?" Her voice faltered, eyes wide with disbelief. Michael stepped closer, a gentle smile on his face. "I wanted to make sure Daniel was okay," he said softly. "I couldn't just watch you struggle." Emma stared at him, the pieces slowly falling into place. Her heart swelled with emotion. Gratitude, admiration, and a profound sense of connection. "It was you, all along," she whispered, voice thick with emotion. He nodded, meeting her gaze with quiet sincerity. "I didn't want you to feel embarrassed or indebted. I just wanted to help. You've done so much for Daniel already. I wanted to make sure he had a chance to recover." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she realized the depth of his kindness and the selflessness behind it. For so long, she had believed that love was only about grand gestures and romantic words. But here it was, love in its purest form, unseen, unwavering, and sacrificial. She squeezed Michael's hand, her heart racing, knowing that the bond between them had just deepened in ways words could barely capture. Daniel stirred slightly, opening his eyes and smiling weakly. Emma leaned down to kiss his forehead, then looked back at Michael. "I don't know how to thank you," she said softly. Michael shook his head, smiling. "You don't need to. Seeing him better is enough." In that quiet hospital room, amidst the beeping monitors and filtered sunlight, Emma understood the true meaning of love and sacrifice. Michael's act had not only saved her brother's life, it had opened her heart to a depth of trust, connection, and affection she had never known before. And in that moment, ever the park was bathed in the golden glow of sunset, the same place where Emma and Michael had first met weeks ago. The air carried the faint scent of fallen leaves, and a gentle breeze whispered through the branches, rustling them like soft applause. Emma walked along the familiar path, her heart still tender from the revelation of Michael's selfless act. She clutched her bag loosely, her mind swirling with gratitude, affection, and a nervous excitement she couldn't quite name. Michael was already waiting on the bench near the fountain, his figure silhouetted against the fiery colors of the sky. He looked up as she approached, a warm, reassuring smile spreading across his face. The world seemed to slow down for a moment, the laughter of children, the distant honk of traffic, even the rustle of the leaves faded into a soft backdrop. "Emma," Michael greeted softly, standing as she neared. "I'm glad you came." She smiled, her eyes reflecting the sunset's glow. "I wouldn't have missed it," she replied, her voice gentle yet steady. She hesitated, then took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about everything you did. About Daniel. About me." Michael nodded, his expression attentive. "You don't have to say anything," he said. "I didn't do it for praise or thanks. I did it because I care. Because I—" His voice faltered slightly, but he continued, "Because I love you, Emma. In every quiet, small way I can." Emma felt her chest swell. The weight of the past weeks, the worry, the relief, the anonymous hope, and finally the revelation, culminated in this single, powerful moment. She stepped closer, reaching for his hand. "And I love you, Michael. Not just for what you did, but for who you are. For seeing me, really seeing me, even when I tried to hide my struggles." They sat together on the bench, fingers intertwined, letting the warmth of their connection settle around them like a protective blanket. Around them, the park was calm, a golden serenity embracing the moment. Words were no longer necessary, their shared glances, the gentle squeeze of hands, and the unspoken understanding said everything. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and amber, Michael leaned closer, resting his forehead against Emma's. In that quiet, golden light, they found more than love, they found trust, sacrifice, kindness, and the profound beauty of hearts willing to give without expectation. The world could continue its rush and chaos around them, but for Emma and Michael, time had paused. Their love had blossomed fully, not through grand gestures or declarations, but through quiet, selfless acts that proved the deepest love is always rooted in care, sacrifice, and unwavering devotion. You thing felt right.